diversified participant, school kids to the professor, right? So I'll try my best to cater everyone's need as much as I can, right? And one thing that will be our main objective to understand at a high level. We will not be going into the complex, so that there is a takeaway for everyone, whether you are a beginner or whether you are an expert. And after that, of course, we will have a lot of activity in between. So make sure you are ready to key in something in chat box. And at the end of the workshop, I have something really exciting, for today's day, for the day, right? Once we wind up today's session, and then we'll have something really exciting to all of you, right? And probably then you can see how where you stand yourself, right? That will be really exciting. So on this note, thank you, Praful sir, and thank you, Progressive Alassio, for giving this such a wonderful opportunity and gathering such an amazing audience, right? So should I begin now? Yeah, Praful sir.
Yes, please. We can start.
Yeah, sure. Right. Just a minute. So let me share my screen with you. Okay. Um, Let me know once if you can see my screen. Is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes, sir. We can see your screen now.
Okay, perfect. So as you can see the title, statistics and algorithm for data analytics. So basically, I'll be focusing on a couple of things from the statistics, couple of concepts from the algorithms, but our application will be completely into the data analytics field, or in short, in analytics, right? Okay. So whatever concepts we will be looking for, we'll be learning, that will be completely applicable in terms of our data analytics. So that will be our application area. Okay. Moving forward, so why it is important, right? Okay, the very first question is why it is important at all to know the statistics or algorithm for data analytics, and for that matter analytics in current scenario, right? So if you look back in your life, right, whatever we do, whatever activity we do, whether we watch a movie, or or we do a shopping, or even we go a restaurant, every activity in our life is data driven, right? Okay. So that is why this is very, very important for us to be a data literate, to understand the difference between, median and mean, where to use which concepts, right? So that's what I will try to put into the perspective. So to begin with, some of the quotes that I'm really a big fan of, like, if the statistics are boring, you got the wrong number, right? And most importantly, the second one, numbers have an important story to tell, right? Okay, let me tell you a very interesting scenario from my life. Everything, I mean, most of the thing in my life ends with the number 7. The house I live, it is having house number 77. My mobile number ends with the 7. My registration number, all the academic registration, mostly they have the and number is 7. I don't know what this number 7 is trying to tell me. And if I sum my date of birth, it also, gives me the number 7, right? Okay. So numbers have an important story to tell, right? Okay. And I'm sure most of you have watched the movie The Man Who Knew Infinity, Ramanujam Sri Nivasan, right? He was very good, in numbers, right? So basically, we need to understand what number is trying to tell, or rather, what we can interpret from the numbers, right? Okay. Now moving forward, so let's get started. I have this activity for you, right? And I know it's quite easy for all of you, right? So you can see there are 6 pictures, right? And then there are some number of years is there, right? Okay. So what you need to do is you need to match the pictures with years. Let's say big data belongs to which? 1980s, 1960s, 99, or something like that, right? So can you quickly do this activity in the chat box, maybe for one particular picture, everyone? Professor, I'll request you, you look at the chat box, right? So
Yeah,
I'll wait
sure.
for a minute for this activity. Yeah, this is a 1 minute activity, and you can write in chat box. For example, .com belongs to which particular century or particular year. And once you are done, then Professor will tell me bingo, and I'll go ahead.
Okay, so I'm waiting for the response, guys.
Okay. I hope everyone got the idea what they are supposed to do. Very simple. You need to associate an year with a picture. It's a very simple. I think we have responses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Rahul
Okay.
gives right. Cypriya tells
Okay.
90s internet, big
Okay.
data, 2000 computer. So yeah, we are getting the
Wow. Wow.
responses.
Right.
Well,
Right. Right. Okay.
everyone has an
That's great.
idea. Pretty good
Right. Right.
responses.
Exactly. So let me spoil the recipe. Here is the answer. Right. Okay. Let me go ahead. Right, I'm sure most of you have done it correct, right? Somebody has very nicely written the pyramid belongs to 2600 BC, right? And of course the dot com is from the 90s, right? And big data and all that is, beyond 2000, right? Okay, I think there is a typo. And of course the bigger computer that you see many people are there, it belongs to the 1960s, right? Okay, so this is where the all things started, in computing, right? This is where we started. Okay, so that was a good activity. Let's go ahead. So now you see there is a buzzword, right? Analytics or statistics is, it is in very limelight, though it is from the very ancient era, as somebody said already mentioned, 2600 BC, right? So from the Egyptian time, right, there was a concept of analytics. It is not new, right? The only thing is that now we got more application of that analytics in our real life. Okay, so it's not new. That is the very first thing, right? So he's one of the father of management, right? And he was the one who first said, that should be a scientific management, right? Okay, I mean, what is the meaning of scientific management? Like, whenever you take a decision, probably it should be data driven. That is why you see everything in our life is data driven. I'll give you a very little example. You want to order something on Zomato, you check the ratings of the ratings of the restaurant, right? Or if you want to buy something on a Flipkart, probably you look at the ratings, comments, and then only you make a decision. So this is what the entire analytics is all about. Okay, now moving forward, so then there was an era in 1960s where we got a bulky computers, right? And we got somewhat decision support system. What is decision support system? Where you can process your data through a computer, and then that data gives you information, right? And that information you use as a decision support system, right? So as a leader, you have to take some decision in your organization, in your home, something like that, right? So how do you take a decision? So you see earlier, the leaders were supposed to have a gut feeling, but luckily in this era you can have a complete support of decision support system, and you can go ahead with the decision, right? So it all started way back in 1960s, right? Then there was an era of in 1980s there was a data warehouse. What is a data warehouse? Where you keep all your data, historical data of your organization, in a relational database. When I say a relational database, a typical Excel file, I'm sure all of you might have seen the Excel files. It is a row and column, likewise, right? And though it was very popular, so in data warehouse you have all the, let's say, 10 years of your data, and then you try to find out what insight I can find out from this particular data warehouse, right? Okay, and then you take decision and you make some meaningful work for your organization. Then it was a 90s, right? Okay, so it was I think I say completely a game changer, where we got .com, right? That internet, everything came into the picture. And currently we are using internet of things, IoT, right? You might have heard of these things, like wherever you are you can just switch off anything in your home, or smart things. So these all possible because of internet of things. So this is how the journey has been, right? And the data generated, it is only because of internet, right? Okay, so because in internet we do a lot of stuff, we look forward how we do contribute on this data generation. So now the moment again, we progressed in 2000, right? We got big data, we got internet of things, and then we got power of predictive analytics, right? So imagine, I'm sure most of you read the horoscope, right? Maybe in newspaper, maybe on news app, or probably you might have seen some jyotsi, I don't know what call it in English, right? Okay, palmist, probably. So they look at your hand and they say, hey, you are going to have this much wealth or this much fortune, something like that. This is what data is now going to tell you, right? Okay, what is going to be with your organization, right? How fair you are going to do in terms of sales, or finance, and whether you are going to achieve your goal or not, right? So these big data, internet of things, all are giving you capabilities to make more informed decision, right? Okay, so when I say a big data, then I mean not into the TV, something in petabytes, something in quintillion, that will take you there in a minute, right? So this was the whole journey. And if you see the analytics in today's world, right, where we are now, right, it's almost 20 years now, right? So if you see, I'm sure all of you know this symbol, right? I can't believe that no one in this workshop knows about this. What is this? These symbols are. I hope everyone, right? Okay, so it's Instagram, YouTube, email, and Twitter, right? So basically, if you see, we can roughly say they all belong to a social media, right? They all are part of social media. For example, we have tons of videos on YouTube. We do a lot of emailing to our friends or our organization we work for, and Instagram. I don't need to mention, and Twitter. They all you know, right? Okay, so this is what, so these are the social media is contributing majorly towards the big data that we have, right? Okay, and majority of the data, if you look at the social media data, it is a unstructured. It is a text, it is a images, it is a video, it is a GIF file and whatnot, right? Okay, and to extract the information out of it, we have completely new era technologies, and then we can make informed decisions, right? So I'll go one by one. Now, if you look at the analytics, right? Okay, what is analytics is all about? Let's define it, right? So idea is very simple. Okay, so before analytics, we had, let's say you work for an organization, you are a salesperson, right? You went out into the market and you are coming back in the evening to your branch and you are reporting, and you can say, hey, this is what I did today. This was my target, and this is what I have achieved. So probably it was what? It was a reporting kind of thing, right? It was not an analytics. So earlier, when there was not much computing power and the memory was so costly, we were not storing all these data. But currently, whatsoever activity you do, right, it is completely being stored, right? Okay, so likewise, so in analytics, basically there is a, you assess the data, you analyze it, and you try to do draw conclusion, right? Okay, you try to get answer of why this analysis is giving me this kind of result and what we can infer from this, right? Ultimately, the goal of the analytics in any organization is to make two things primarily, right? One is how can I increase my revenue, right, for my organization, right? Okay, or not every time it is the revenue that you can increase, but how can I minimize the cost, right? Okay, so for example, you can take the Ola, right? They take always the shortest path, right? Or you can see the Zomato people, right, when they go to deliver, like, okay, so these all are the smart applications of the analytics, right, where they try to maximize the profit and minimize the cost. Or or, or there can be a third vertical where how can I improve the process, right? How can I improve the overall efficiency of the process? Okay, so if you see the basic difference between reporting and analytics, I was just mentioning you decision support system. So basically that decision support system were giving you data, the reporting. You might have also heard of, those who are working in industry, MIS reporting, management information system reporting, right? So when you get a report, it eventually gives you some bunch of numbers in tables or something like that, right? But in analytics, you get an answers why certain thing happened, right? Why certain things, that phenomena is happening, right? So you get your answers. So that will be your major takeaway. In analytics, we answer why, whereas in reporting you get what, right? So that is a major difference, right? Okay, now moving forward, right? Okay, so what you do with once you have a analytics, of course you are making an informed decision, right? That means whatever decision you are making, that is based on a fact, on a number, right? And we all try to take a better decision always, right? Though always we cannot be correct, right? Or maybe not be a best decision, but still we try ourselves, right? Because uncertainty is involved, right? Okay, so that is why it is called informed decision. Now, if you look back, if you look, what kind of things you can get answered by this analytics? For example, let's say you are a marketing company and you want to know how effective my campaign was, right? You run a campaign, right? Okay, like bank people do, or the Flipkart people do, or all the e-commerce people, right? So they want to know, if I ran a campaign, right, whether it was effective or not, whether I got more customer or not, whether I achieved more sales or not, right? Okay, now then, for example, you are planning something for next year, right? So you should know where should be my focus point, right? What should be my a major where I should put my major attention, right? Okay, so these kind of questions you can answer with the help of analytics, right? Okay, and most importantly, I'm sure you must be knowing it. You see the e-commerce website, or all the major entertainment website like Netflix and Amazon Prime, they all are evolving over the period of time, right? Why? Because they want you to make make it simple as much as possible, and so that you remain engaged with their contents, right? So these are the questions that you can answer with analytics. Now, so if you look at the basic analytics, like there's a very famous concept called A/B testing, very much required in industry, especially if you are dealing with the web-based components, right? Okay, I'll talk more about it in later on. Then there's something called correlation versus causation. We will be again going very detailed into this. What is the meaning of correlation? What is the causation? Then aggregations, right? So these are some basic analytics that you start with. Whenever you have, let's say you have a bunch of data and you want to analyze it, right? We want to apply analytics. Probably these are the things you want to start with, right? Probably you want to start correlation. You want to see whether there's a causation or aggregation functions. Okay, we'll look into it more detail and with the case study in further, right? Then there are certain advanced analytics as well. For example, regression analysis, decision tree modeling, right? Basically, these all are techniques that you can apply on your data to achieve your target, right? Whether you want to, as I said, the three basic targets, whether you want to increase revenue, improve the performance, or you try to minimize the risk through the decision support system or analytics. Okay, so we'll talk more about it one by one in coming up sessions. So now look at the very simple case study, right? So there is a company, imagine this is a Flipkart, right? Okay, and they have a website, right? It is an e-commerce company. Currently, everything is fine. And one fine day, they decided, okay, let's use analytics, right? Okay, because they have some purpose in mind. Probably they must be not be happy with existing website or their customer numbers. So they are trying to improve it, right? So let's say how they do it. So they thought, let's use analytics, and they have team members, as you can see, right? And then what happened, the idea why they wanted to use analytics was, you can see the number of customers were decreasing, right? Okay, day by day. So you can just assume that on x-axis it is a day, on y-axis it is a number of customers, right? So it was decreasing, so they wanted to stop it, they wanted to retain their customer using analytics. Okay, so then what happened? They called a meeting. They called a meeting and they discussed that, okay, this is what we need to do. And then their team got some ideas. Okay. And then further, they implemented the analytics, but still there was a decrease in customer. Still there was a decrease in customers. So the question is why, right? Okay, the question is why. Okay, so let's see why there was a decrease despite having a meeting, despite having a new version of the website, despite putting the lot of efforts. The reason was, and of course they were disappointed, they were displeased, they were not happy because the problem was still there, they were not able to solve it, right? And if you look at the second example, now there's a second iteration, they did second iteration, and this time what they did is they called their team again, they wanted to solve the same problem, right? They involve their higher leadership, their higher organization, people like CIO, like CEO, and all the higher people, and they took this 1 week time frame that I will run the experiment for a week and see what happens. So they run their experiment for a week, and then through a random customer. So what they did is they had a website. They made some changes in their website, and they projected new website to a particular set of customer only, random customers, right? Okay, and they collected some beta. They collected some data, some results. Okay, and then what happened? Then what happened? They got some data, right? Once they ran the analytics over a week, as you see in the slide, right? Okay, they got some data. Now what they did on their data is they ran the analytics, right? And you can see they got wonderful results, right? Okay, because this time they not only discussed, but they put their effort through data driven, right? The effort was data driven. They collected the data, they applied the analytics, and then they focused the difference between both, and then finally they rolled out these newer changes to the entire website. Okay, so this is how you have to do it, right? We cannot suddenly say, okay, from tomorrow we are going to have analytics, right? Okay, so this I hope you got the idea what happened in the first case and what happened in the second case, right? Okay, so this was just a small demonstration of analytical capability, right? So if you look in the first method, right, you see there was no analytics. They simply had a meeting and they have some idea, they implemented, and there was no feedback. But whereas in second method, right, there was analytics was involved, there was a beta launch, there was a feedback, and they got feedback, they improved something upon that, right? And then they relaunch and finally they got a success, right? So basically this is how analytics is rolled out in any kind of organization, right? Okay, so I hope you got a bit of a picture, right? Can you just put in chat box about this case study like that I just discussed with you? At least you got an idea about the analytics, how the analytics should be implemented. Can somebody put in chat box? I'll wait before moving forward.
Yes, sir. We are getting the responses. So we've got
Perfect.
around 10 plus responses. So we can please go ahead.
Perfect. Okay, perfect, perfect. Now, so I have some food for your, some food for your thoughts, right? Okay. So, what do you think? Like, what website I just mentioned? It is called A/B testing. After, before. I mean, just for simplicity, you can understand it, right? Okay. Now this a very funny example. Na, pehle मैं मोटा था, patla हो गया. After and before effects. So, so it's like a website. In website also it happens, right? So, what do you think? Where you can apply such kind of analytical technique? Okay, and maybe these questions you can answer later on because I haven't discussed anymore, not yet. Okay. Now let me go to the next slide. Okay. So if you look at the analytics industry, right, it's a very huge, right? And the very anyone in the chat box can put what was the which was the first industry which used analytics. Anyone having any idea? But not googling. Okay. So okay. So I'll put it for your hint. This is not mentioned in the slide. It was airlines industry, right, which first used analytics. Okay. And to be very honest, if you go to the Wikipedia, I have my own formula for analytics. Whatever you want to do, let's say I want to do, I have how many participants we have, let me check it, I'm not sure. I have 60 plus participants, and I want to understand what kind of participant I have, right? So I can do a participant analytics, right? Okay. So whatever domain you can think of right now, analytics is there, right? Okay. Right. Okay. Image analytics, and you will surprised to know the kind of shirt you wear, and if there is a logo and you click a photo, you upload on Facebook. Facebook is reading that logo in your shirt, in t-shirt, what brand you are wearing, and accordingly you will be recommended that ad advertisement. So it has gone to even that level, right? Okay. So I can't think of any industry where analytics is not applied. And this is takeaway slide for this particular topic, right? So what you see here, we started our journey with the data. I'm sure if you are born in 90s and if you have read the computer science, like I started in class 5th. So I remember my definition: a computer is an electronic device which processes the data and gives the information. But we have gone way beyond that, right? Probably if I have to write a new book, I will change the definition, right? Okay. So of course it was true in that era, but not now. So we start with the data, then you process it, you get information, then you process it more with the cutting edge technology, then you get a knowledge. And what you do when you get a knowledge, we start giving parvachan, right? Sorry, not parvachan. I mean, then you become very knowledgeable. People call it you wise person. So what you do with a lot of knowledge, right? Okay. So you do something really remarkable, right? You take some informed decision. You do something like Elon Musk, right? Okay. Okay. So he's one of the ideal. So after knowledge, you get an insight, and then from insight, you try to bring out some wisdom, right? Uh, Maybe you agree or disagree, but probably this is what the paradigm now. And you can also see there is something else also. You have knowledge, then probably you can use that knowledge as experience, and probably you can get some creativity done out of that, right? Okay. So basically what I have conveyed you so far is what is the power of analytics, right? Okay. And what you can do with this, right? Okay. And what is the advantage, and what can happen if you don't apply analytics, right? So probably you are putting a lot of effort, but you cannot see a very good result, right? Okay. So so far so good, everyone, right? You can put in chat box before I can move on. So this will be a takeaway, right, for you. Okay. So I'll be just stopping here, right? Okay. And
Yes, sir. We
I'll be
have some
moving forward.
responses. So
Okay.
people are understanding.
Oh, that's great. Okay, that's great. So now, who is a good storyteller in the participants? Anyone who likes to, share their stories? Anyone here?
Okay, so we don't have any response. Seems like we are lacking in that part.
Okay. So, okay, not a problem. Okay. So I do have a story. Probably I'll be sharing with you a story, and that is what our next topic is: storytelling. Right? Okay. So storytelling, right? So gone are the days when you are, when you were working in an organization and your boss is asking some report, you are giving some tables, you are throwing some numbers, and here's you are done. Okay. And I still remember in 2007, my professor told me, Manikant, if you can make a good report, your salary will be very higher. Okay, so I mean, he was my database teacher, right? And I think it's true, right? Okay, so what you can give out of your raw data to your organization probably, and if that is a valuable, definitely you will get a better increment, right? Disclaimer: it is my opinion. So can somebody tell me what is happening in this picture in the chat box? Can you look at the picture? I think most of us have done this.
Okay, so someone is saying
Very
picnic, yoga, meeting, storytelling.
exactly, right. So like I remember looking at this picture. I went Manali and I had some similar kind of arrangement, right? We had a bonfire. So definitely, I'm sure all of us spend such kind of time, especially in the college when senior is giving you permission and all are listening, or maybe some family function, right? Especially in a winter, right? So this is a storytelling session. Trust me, in today's era, if you can tell the story, right, which is out of the world, which even any layman can understand, probably you are in demand, right? You are the one, right, that people are going after, right? Okay, the storytellers, right? Okay, in currently in data science industry. So correct, all of you are correct, right? This is a storytelling session going on, and this is what we are going to look into this session. I will also tell you what Albert Einstein has to share with us about storytelling, right? Okay, so let's get into this, right? Why it is important, right? Again, I am very fan of this great data scientist. He's a statistician, Professor Dr. W. Edwards Deming, right? And he said a very famous quote, and I remember you go any data science conferences or any workshop, probably you see him with this quote, right? In God we trust, all other must bring data. So let me tell you, what is the meaning of it? What does it mean actually, right? So the idea is, let's say I am a very good batsman, right? Let's say I'm saying you, I am a very good batsman, right? I can play a very classical shots on the pitch, but will you believe that, right? I will be a good batsman only when you can see the run on the scoreboard, right? Otherwise, no use. I mean, how good batsman I am, right? So let's say if you say you are saying like, okay, I'm very good at singing, right? So probably you have to prove it. So this is what the era we are living in, right? Nobody is going to believe what you are saying. Do you have a data, right? Okay, so let's say I mean, you are a startup company and you want to go for fundraising. So people will ask you, do you have numbers, right? Do you have a customers, right? Or let's say you are saying to you are in interview, right? And let's say you are giving PhD interview or maybe some admission interview, and you say, I'm very good at machine learning. Okay, so immediately the interviewer will ask you, do you have a GitHub repository, right? Okay, that means whatever you are saying, you have to support that with the data, right? This is what the era now. Okay, and so we must be prepared for that. So now moving forward, so what you do with the data, right? You have data, of course, you have lot of data currently, right? And we have lots of result also, but are all the results are meaningful, right? Are all the data is meaningful? Probably that we need to check, right? Because sometimes it is just data, right? Okay, right? And I'll give you this example. I recently saw that there is a boy who was simply on YouTube sitting silently, and people counted their eyelids, how many times he did that, right? So what kind of data it is, right? So that's the whole idea is about, right? We'll look into this. So basically, I'll talking about in this session what data storytelling is, like why it is important in today's world, and how you can be a good storyteller, right? I'm sure you must, whether you know or not, good data storytelling. But I'm sure all of you know what